morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall on Wheels, and I do apologize that it's at City Hall. I thought that meant I might have to wear rollerblades while doing this presentation. I wasn't sure, but rest assured, next time we do this, we'll be out and about in the community, which is part of our intent, is to get out there and do it in places where it might be more convenient to some of our citizens than just coming to City Hall. So today I want to talk about connectivity. We've done a lot of work on connectivity in the community, and we say it, but we don't always give you specifics. So I want to go through some projects and some work that we've done that have incorporated connectivity. By connectivity, I mean options for sidewalks and trails and ways that you can get from one place to another without necessarily having to get in your car. And so a lot of times we focus on the roadways because they're so important, but guess what? There's a lot of other ways and a lot of other things we're doing, and we continually integrate as we do these projects. So I'm going to walk through. These are the capital projects. There are about 15 on this map that have been completed but since 2014 through 2018. So about in the last 5-year window. You've heard us talk about the completion of over $170 million worth of capital investments in that time frame, the vast majority of which are transportation related, 84–85%, and many of those integrate connectivity as an important part of that. So I'm going to run through fairly quickly some projects that you know about or may have known about, but may not know about the connectivity improvements that were integrated as well, to just give you sort of part of our philosophy of trying to do that with everything we do. So this is all part of our transportation plan, which is linked to our land use plan. And so we upgraded both of those plans, or updated both of those plans in parallel, because land use has a huge impact on the roadway and transportation needs in our community. So understanding that and connecting that type of planning together is something we've been very intentional about. So this shows you the different design concepts that are throughout the community. There's about 17 different design concepts ranging from a high intensity regional commercial use right along the interstate to areas that are not even fully designated. They're looked at as what we call development reserve, which means we don't quite have a plan yet for that. We expect that it will remain rural or undeveloped for the foreseeable future. And so that's the whole range of and everything in between. And you see this color-coded map sort of tells you what's envisioned for where in terms of our design concepts and land use. And as I said, that is very much linked to our transportation planning. So let's pour through some projects real quick, and I'm going to talk about them, but I'm going to focus primarily on the connectivity and sidewalk and trail improvements that came with it. So right here is McEwen Phase 3. This is just on the edge of our window of capital projects, and with that project we did sidewalks and on-street bike lanes, and that ran all the way through Carruthers all the way to the Cool Springs roundabout, and then from there we did an extension and improvement to help that function more effectively as well. But again, connecting sidewalks, bike usage as an option. Mac Hatcher Northeast, which was done just a few years ago, which widened that roadway, also incorporated on the inside of that 12-foot multi-use trail all along that loop and connects from Franklin Road all the way down to Murfreesboro Road on the east. So that's a huge project, 3 miles, about a $25 million investment by TDOT. Next project, Carruthers, which we have built as an initial phase. We built 1/2 of it, 2 lanes. It's ultimately designed to be 4 lanes. We've graded out the east side of it for those improvements. With this initial 2-lane project, we did provide a sidewalk all the way up and down that area from Falcon Creek to Long Lane. When it's ultimately built out, you'll have a companion on the other side, which will have a multi-use trail, and then we'll have bike lanes also incorporated with that project. So that's another improvement that again integrates both of those. When you look at Hillsborough Road, recently completed Phase 2 of that, throughout that project provided both bike lanes, sidewalks on both sides of the road, so that we actually had sidewalks now connecting to Franklin High School. So huge improvement there. The last piece of those improvements up to the north by Mac Hatcher will happen with the Mac Hatcher extension, which will connect to existing sidewalk and trail further to the north that takes you all the way up to Fieldstone. All right, so let's look at also up in Fieldstone, did a connection, both a improvement of the tunnel, but also of the trail area that connects Fieldstone from one side over to Hunters Bend Elementary School. That was also a major improvement there. Took us a while to get all that done with some other complications, but we're very, very glad to have that important connection to that school and to that both sides of that neighborhood improved. The next one is one of the things we're integrating into our budget every year, our planning every year. We've put about $250,000 a year for the next 5 years towards what we call sidewalk gaps, which are really designed to be smaller projects that just, there's little links missing between neighborhoods and parks, neighborhoods and schools, other areas that we need, and so we pick some of those off. There's actually one large project here which was just completed, the 96 East Murfreesboro Road sidewalk that connects from Pinkerton all the way to Mac Hatcher into that multi-use trail system that goes all the way up into Cool Springs. So that's kind of bigger than most of the rest of these projects. But then you look at the ones just completed in 2017. We talked about Columbia State. I started college in 1985 too, so I have that in common with the local branch. But this is a great link in terms of the sidewalk linkage out to that area. They're so popular and overwhelmed with their parking needs. We're providing parking at Liberty Park to help offset that, and having better linkage has been important to Columbia State there as well. So we've also provided connectivity along South Royal Oaks that allow you, if you live in Forest Crossing, you can now walk all the way to Publix. So that was just these little connections. And we had sidewalks some places, but we were missing gaps other places. And so that is something we continually look at. And if you have places in your neighborhood that you just see in your daily walking around or driving around and you say, gosh, if we just had a little sidewalk there, please let us know. We're looking for them all the time. And some of them are more expensive to do than others, but these are designed to be fairly quick connection points that we can help provide our community with. So we've done a number of these. Did one along 96 West that helps connect to the Reed Commons shopping area that was just completed in the last few months. So we just keep looking and picking those off to help us better connect. So those are a quick look at the ones we've done in the last probably 4 or 5 year window. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming and how connectivity is integrated there. So the much talked about northwest extension of Mac Hatcher. The latest and greatest on that is we now have the updated appraisals approved by TDOT for the last property acquisition that was needed there, and now that is in the hands of that property owner, and that will get resolved one way or another. And either we'll do it together, come to agreement, or we'll need to go through the condemnation process. We hope to have that, we're working with TDOT, bid either December or January, and then move that forward. That's probably about a 3-year construction period. From the connectivity standpoint, a multi-use trail is envisioned or is planned for that inside the Mac Hatcher Loop, that extension. And what the city did to help facilitate that is many, many years ago, Southern Land had pledged about $1.25 million worth of support to the city's local funding that we'd put into Mac Hatcher to try to move that project further along in the prioritization with the state. They said, we really need this, want this to help this happen. We'll help provide some additional offset to the $5+ million that the city was putting in to help that project move forward. We have moved to divert that money directly to the provision of that trail. TDOT was not going to provide it. They said, we're about providing the road. It's up to you locally if you want to provide that trail connection. And so we worked with Southern Land, we worked with TDOT to say, let's target that money, that $1.25 million, towards the multi-use trail on the inside of the northwest extension. And so that's what's going to happen with that project as well. So that's an important improvement. We'll connect to existing trails that are down here as we look to extend further west from what's out by Carlisle. That'll be a great connection opportunity. Like I said, up on the north area by Hillsboro and by Franklin High School, we'll provide connections to the north into the sidewalk network that takes you up to Fieldstone, and then into Joel Cheek Park in the Franklin High School area. So that's a nice improvement. Also, speaking of Mac Hatcher, another area that is a major choke point on Mac Hatcher is the southeast leg. This is a project that we've been trying to really push with TDOT and with MPO in terms of a prioritization. The good news is environmental and preliminary engineering is in the 3-year plan for TDOT, so that's important progress. And that will be a widening similar to what you saw in the northeast, you'd see in the southeast. And also, similar to what you see in the northeast, would be a 12-foot multi-use path on the inside of Mac Hatcher as well. So that would be part of that project. We don't know when actual construction might happen, but we are encouraged that the preliminary design and environmental work is now been funded by TDOT. So that's a big part and probably one of our major choke points if you look at the existing roadway network now. So that's an encouraging improvement there as well. Looking back on McEwen Phase 4, which has been approved in the Invest Franklin initiative. That takes us from Cool Springs and the roundabout here to the east out to Wilson Pike and takes that essentially rural road and makes it much like what you see on the existing McEwen to be a much more of a typical city road. And that also does include a 12-foot trail alongside the roadway, on the south side of the roadway. So that's that improvement there. Franklin Road, which is also part of our Invest Franklin initiative, going from the bridge out to Harpeth Industrial Court and out to the factory and Harlansdale. That includes sidewalks on both sides. And the existing plan for the roadway is, while it's a 3-lane configuration, the lanes will be a little wider than your normal lanes to accommodate bikes. It will not have a dedicated bike lane, but it is designed to be a little wider to help accommodate bikers, and then the sidewalk obviously for pedestrians. So we hope to never see moms pushing strollers along the roadway on Franklin Road to go to a festival downtown. Hopefully this sidewalk connection will be a major improvement there. All right, so a couple others that you may have heard about. Columbia Avenue, that design has been approved. We're now having discussion about how sidewalk and pedestrian facilities will function there. Board has given pretty clear direction that they're looking at sidewalk. The question is whether to be sidewalk on one side or both sides. So that's a future call that the board's going to help us make, probably sooner than later, because we're having some conversations with property owners about how to best do access management, we call it, along the roadway. And knowing how sidewalk might work and what we want to do with utilities will be critical to that discussion. So that will affect some of those options for those folks. So we're looking for a decision on that probably this fall from the board. The 96 West continuation of the trail that was put in up by Founders Point and Carlisle which connects to Freedom Middle and Poplar Grove. We're looking to extend that from Freedom Middle all the way into Fifth Avenue in Hillsborough Road area. So that is a great connection. We've been fortunate enough to get about $1.8 million of TDOT transportation money to help us with that project. That probably gets us about halfway on the cost of that project. And we are looking to really, we need to start that in about the next 12 months to fit the time frame that's involved in that grant. So that would be a great connection to schools, between schools, to Jim Warren Park, and then obviously into downtown from the entire west side to give us some great connectivity, and again, give you options. So you don't have to get in your car. You can walk, you can bike, you can push your kids in a stroller, etc. So those are the hard concrete and asphalt solutions that have been taking place and are coming forward with projects. Let me go to the next one that you may or may not know about. We have a traffic operations center that operates out of this building. We work with signals and signal timing. We use technology that helps us have our intersections work more efficiently, and in fact are in the process of bringing on what they call adaptive signal technology that will help us work with our signalization to change as traffic patterns change in real time. And so that's technology we're working to bring in place. It ties to traffic cameras we have around the community so that we don't have the tree of traffic signals. And it is something that for a community our size is rare that we have that kind of technology in place. We've done studies, especially when we make improvements around holiday time in Cool Springs. We see significant improvement because of the way we use those signals that help us avoid the long time frame that it takes to build roads. You can use the technology better and smarter that way. So that's another way we just try to make transportation work a little better, and we'll continue to have that evolve as we go forward. All right, so let me talk about one last thing that's a different kind of connection. It's how we connect with you, our citizens. I think this is really important. I just want to touch on that, and you're here, so you're engaged. But there are lots of ways we try to reach our citizens and make sure we're connecting, not the least of which is events like this, and Mindy talked about and Dolores talked about On the Table, which is coming forward, and we're proud to be a partner in that and expect that we'll be hosting some On the Table events at city facilities to help that happen. And just the day-to-day, you'll see lots of public meetings. We try to make sure you're aware of that. If you're following us on social media, and over 30,000 of you are, we try to put a lot out there about public meetings, or even put the public meetings directly live on social media so that you can connect and see what's going on in your community. One of the things we've done a couple times in the last several years and did just 2 years ago is a community-wide survey where we ask randomly a couple thousand of our citizens to give us feedback, and we received remarkable response with that. And that same survey will be going out this fall to our citizens to kind of gauge how we're doing, both from a perception and what's important from our citizens in terms of our focus as a city government. One of the things the mayor's working on, I won't steal too much of his thunder, is a Unite Williamson event to bring our faith community together and our whole community together in a community prayer breakfast, and he can talk about that. We talked about On the Table, which has these events to literally break bread together, but also has a survey component to it as well. And as I said, very engaged in social media as a local government. Our numbers in terms of engagement are far better than communities many, many times our size, because we've been intentional about it, and we try to put content on there that we see people respond to, and also that is just part of the day-to-day business of running a city government and trying to connect with our community. So that's a big part of what we're about. And of course, your voice needs to be heard. There's an election in November. So make sure you're engaging and having your voice heard there as well. It's really important that we have that. We've had a lot of local elections and earlier in the year and in August, but there's still more to be done, and I hope you have your voice heard in that process as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about. That was actually just an unintentional slide, but this is how our project development process goes. We plan it, we do an environmental, we do a design, we get right away, and then we build it. And so it's, you probably only see about this part of it. This is what everybody's talking about, right? But all this has to happen before that, and that's some of what is behind the scenes and what I talked about earlier today. So that's what I had prepared for you. I'm glad to answer any questions or touch on anything Mindy wants me to talk about that I should have talked about.
Harlansdale footbridge.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry, I should have put that in there. Yeah, we have just received word in the last couple weeks about a $2 million grant from Tennessee Department of Transportation to help us connect with a pedestrian bridge between Harlansdale, Park at Harlansdale Farm, over to the trail network that's by Chestnut Bend that connects up into the rec center and down to Bicentennial Park and into downtown. So that's a great opportunity to help provide another connection to and from our parks, into neighborhoods, into other important resources, rec center, downtown, other parks as well. So that's a great project. We're looking forward to moving forward with that. And that, we don't have all the final numbers of what we project on that. We're thinking it was at least a $3 million project, so we'll be updating, refining that a little further, but that's a huge boost to get that kind of grant support. So we're looking forward to moving that along as well. So thank you for reminding me. I meant to put that in there. Good, Chris.
The Mac Hatcher extension from Hillsborough Road over to new Highway 96.
Mhm.
It looked like the multi-use trail was going to connect from Hillsborough Road on up to Franklin Road, where you've got the multi-use trail already. Is that correct?
Well, we still have a gap between Hillsborough to basically where Spencer Creek comes in, because you've got part of it from Franklin towards the church in that area. As that area develops, and the board identified the potential golf development on that 50 acres that's there, that incorporates a trail extension further there. So we're still going to have a little bit of a gap to work on ourselves on the inside of that, between really right by the bridge to the west, to connect the rest of the way to Hillsborough. So that's a further piece that we're going to have to work on.
But you're hoping to connect onto the Fieldstone farm?
Yeah, we will that will definitely happen through the areas immediately north of the intersection, and there's a gap to the south right there. The board even talked about whether to do something temporarily, but said, Mac Hatcher is going to be bid, let's let that happen, and not, because we'd have to tear up the work in just a couple years. So, and there's an uncertainty about when they would build. They'd probably build when they would need to tear that up, probably do it fairly early in the project. So I think ultimately the board didn't see the benefit of spending that kind of money for a shorter term connection. So, what else can we answer for you?
The commissions, who may we speak to get more information on the commissions?
On the different citizen commissions? Well, we've got it on the website. You can write, the mayor solicits interest from time to time, and we'll post that as we look at vacancies. But really, most of these are all, some are just appointed directly by the mayor. Others are the mayor recommends and the board approves. It's a little bit of a mixed bag depending on which commission. But certainly they're all described there. The mayor's office kind of takes the responsibility. If you have a certain one that you have an interest in, we'll always accept a letter of interest. Right now there may not be a vacancy, but that's good to know. When we have a vacancy, we'll post it and make folks aware that it's available and solicit interest that way too. So that's probably the best way to do that. Any other suggestions, Mayor?
No, I think you've described it very well. In fact, we have a number of people that are on commissions here, and I'm always seeking new people that have not had the experience to be on it. I like new input. The last commission we appointed was the Development Services Advisory Commission. We had over 30 applications, so I usually engage staff to review those applications with me. Then probably over half of the people on that last group I personally interviewed, and it's interesting that a number of those that I interviewed ended up being appointed. I mean, we have so much talent here. It's really a challenge trying to fill some of those spots because we have so many people that are interested.
So to take a look at it, we've got them all put, and it's a wide variety. You mentioned Development Services just formed. Public Art Commission was formed in just the last year or so, last 2 years. And then we've got others that have more direct involvement around specific regulatory, whether it's zoning appeals, historic zoning, you've got planning commission, you just got a wide sustainability, battlefield preservation. Yeah, there's whatever your interest is, there's probably a commission that touches on it. So go check it out and let us know. We love to have the engagement and involvement. And some of those too, even if they don't have the commission, there's sometimes ways citizens can get involved with specific areas of interest, even if they're not on the commission. So. Yeah, it's just started now, Citizens Government Academy. I see a couple of our classmates right now that are in that. But it goes through everything that we do as a city. It's about 8 weeks, right? 8 weeks. And it just started. And we do that every August and solicit the people's interest in that. Let us know, even if you're interested next year, we'll keep your name and let you know when to apply. We had over 35 people apply for it this time. So we had great interest there. We also run a Citizens Academy for police. So you can learn about what our police department does and our officers do there and all the different ways they serve. And then fire department also does a Citizens Academy. So I've done all of them. They're great. You get to some really interesting experiences. And so check it
I
out.
almost killed Clyde Barnhill in Police Academy, but that's I didn't mean to.
For another time.
Not supposed to do that. Not supposed to. Well, you mentioned about social media,
Yeah.
and you mentioned about the Traffic Operations Center.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow them on Twitter, and they'll post that there are issues on the roads and where traffic is bad, or that there's been a crash, and to avoid that, as does the police department. But also, if you follow the City of Franklin on Facebook and other ways, talk about your top 3 things to know. If you really want to know what's happening in the city, 11 o'clock on Monday.
Yes, that's right. Soon, in less than an hour, we'll be doing it. So we try to pick 3 things that are just interesting. I used to write a little blog and post it, and nobody looked at it. So then we said, why don't we do this as video? It actually is quicker and it's more interesting. And so we try to do about a 3-minute video every Monday at 11 a.m. We do it live on Facebook. So sometimes we even get live time questions. But we run through the top 3 things and just try to tell you things of interest that maybe have just gone on or are going on this week. This week we'll be talking about the fact that the demolition of the Hill buildings will start this week. And so we'll talk about that. And then we also got word this last week that our flood insurance classification was upgraded from a level 9 to a level 8, which if you buy flood insurance, you just save 10% on your flood insurance. So that basically is a regulation community rating system that the flood insurance program has put in place. If you're doing certain things and you document how well you're doing flood prevention and community education, et cetera, they'll rate you kind of like a fire ISO rating. They do it for flood education and prevention efforts. And we were an unrated community, which most communities are, just 2 years ago, and then we got rated, and then we're now climbing the ladder. Went from a 9 to an 8, and our folks are already working on how they get to a 7 next year, and we're just going to keep working on that. So that's at least 2 of them. I don't have the 3rd thing yet. I'll have to work on that. I can always throw on the table in there, right?
Right, always. As someone who lives in the A1 flood zone, thank you very much. Yeah, it was, one of your slides mentioned the Unite Williamson Community Breakfast, and Franklin Tomorrow is proud to have been working with the mayor to loan and create an LLC that they can become a nonprofit organization. But Mayor, would you come up and tell us a little bit about that event at the microphone, and Stephen will appreciate that.
I think I can, will this work? Good.
This
good.
will work too.
Oh,
need to
great.
get
Are we
on.
connected at the hip?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That happens sometimes.
yeah. It's really necessary
It
too.
does. That's kind of the way it works with mayors and city managers sometimes. Here you go.
Oh, great,
Uh-oh.
great.
It's in my tie. Doggone it. This is a problem-solving exercise.
Nice
And-
tie.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
Yeah, Eric and I love to cooperate with each other. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Unite Williamson, and so I'll kind of give you the background story. You know, my thoughts about this actually started a number of years ago whenever I attended the Governor's Prayer Breakfast and the Nashville Prayer Breakfast, and I look around and there are Williamson County people there, but the bulk of those are Nashville people. So I floated the idea among several people, never really got much traction until sadly with the events in Charleston, South Carolina at Emmanuel AME Church, the shooting there, and the people in that church immediately said, well, we forgive him. And you know, I was kind of, wow. And at the same time, Reverend Kenneth Hill, who's the pastor at the Shorter Chapel AME Church, contacted a number of us, and we had a prayer vigil. Interesting enough, some of his friends were people in that church that died so tragically. So he and I have become great friends, and he and I both shared that vision. What a great way to unite our community is through some type of prayer event. We started like in June of 17 having a discussion and just invited people we thought might have an interest. And this gradually grew into the idea that we should have an interfaith prayer event We got to the point where we picked a date, October the 20th, 9 o'clock, Harlansdale Farms, and suddenly it struck me. I said, uh-oh, I have no expertise on planning an event. So I had a number of ladies that formerly worked for the Heritage Foundation that were eager to be part of this. And so we're finishing up the final planning stages right now. We have two benefactors, anonymous, that have donated the money to fund the breakfast. It's going to be a tented event. We'll have, we anticipate about 500 people. Our challenge is how do we invite people? So we're still struggling with that a little bit. We have 230 churches, temples, mosques in Williamson County. So we've sent out letters of interest to all of those faith organizations, and we're getting back responses, and soon we'll be sending back out something as far as some type of Eventbrite invite where you'll be able to get a ticket to come so we know how many people are coming. We anticipate it will be very successful. We anticipate that we want to take you out of your comfort zone a bit. Kind of my vision would be that we have something that's somewhat synergistic with On the Table, and that we'll have people that are at the table, and probably you won't know any of the people at your table. And I think that's why it's such an important thing to do, so people can learn who their neighbors are in our community. You know, we tend to isolate ourselves to, you know, subdivisions and social groups and so on. So hopefully this takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And it, as I say, it is an interfaith event. We have participants from the Williamson County Islamic Center. We had great participation from them. The Jewish community, many other Christian faiths, Catholic, and also the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have been a great participant. So I'd invite all of you to come. Just watch your social media, watch your church bulletin, and love to see you there and be part of it that day. The other thing that I was going to mention, another opportunity to understand what's going on in the city, I periodically will do a TV show called More with the Mayor, and it's an opportunity to talk about things. We'll start filming a version of that today, and we'll release various segments of it to interest the community. So we're constantly trying to find ways to reach out to the community and make sure the community knows what's going on. What Eric did this morning was phenomenal, because it really tells the community how hard we're working to keep up with this challenge of growth that we're having right now. And you know, 170 million past 5 years, twice that in the next 5 years. We're working very hard. We know that economies go up and down, and we're in a very blessed time at this time with a lot of great jobs and a lot of good people moving into our community. So I hope this has helped you understand better what's going on in our community. So back to Eric with the microphone.
What else do we have? Anything else you want to cover? Or any other questions?
What about the Riverwalk? Is that going anywhere, or what's going on with that?
Well, we've done some planning around that, and I think there's still options being explored on how to especially connect areas from like Bicentennial Park to Pinkerton and that. So there's still opportunity there. Some of it may be helped along by development and redevelopment, but we've got sort of a working group that's been looking at those opportunities that involves the city, but also some private entities that are looking at ways they can plug in to helping that happen. So it's still something that's very much under consideration and looking for the right opportunities to tie that together. So it's still very much a priority as we look at, and in this connection, the Harlansdale piece is part of that that discussion. So that's a first important step in terms of where we're going forward with those kind of initiatives. So.
Okay. What about connecting the battlefields?
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of walking
Mm-hmm.
Carter, Watson, Carter.
Yeah, you've got, I mean, some of those you've got some sidewalk opportunities like Lewisburg. We're looking at a specific connection issue there that seems like it's very challenging because it's very constrained there. And so we're going through that, and it is a much costlier improvement than we would like, but it's one of the things we've highlighted in the capital investment effort, and that's something for that project, but others too. One of the things we'll be working with the board on this fall is an update on the capital investment plan. We do a 10-year planning window, and we'll be sitting down with them. We have a work session scheduled for the 17th of September. That afternoon, we're going to do an initial work session on that, and then probably multiple work sessions through the rest of the fall as we figure out priorities and where we go. And that's one of those areas that has been highlighted as a possible project that would help us connect, especially the core ones with existing sidewalk network down to Eastern Flank, and we're looking at opportunities to do that.
I think let's thank Eric for
Thank
his
you.
service.
Thank you very much.
We would ask you to consider going to this, our website and /on the table, where you can learn more about the on the table experience. While the mayor's breakfast, as he was mentioning, the Unite Williamson breakfast hopes to have about 500 people in attendance, there's really no limit, pardon me, when it comes to on the table, because people will be holding these in their homes and businesses, as well as the public events that we'll be helping to coordinate that include breakfast with the mayors on October 30th. Then the Williamson County Public Library will be a site for events through the day. Franklin Police Department, Franklin City Hall, Franklin YMCA, other public locations, as well as people will host these in their homes. And then everyone who registers or attends one of these and turns in their email address will receive the link to complete the survey. So it's very important. So it really is about our community talking to each other with both civil and civic discourse. That's the point for much of what Franklin Tomorrow does, is to engage the community, foster collaboration, and then advocate for a shared vision for the future of Franklin. And we do that through events like On the Table, through events like Frank Talks and Breakfast with the Mayors and other events. So we appreciate your support by being here this morning. We hope that you'll look at the franklintomorrow.org /on the table site and see if there's a way that you can either host a table at one of our public events or in your home or business, or just join the conversation on October 30th. But thanks for being here at Frank Talks. Our next event is October 8th, and we'll be talking about the power of hospitality. So we thank you for being here.